Hi, everyone. It's Will McCoy, CEO of EdTech Authority. I'm incredibly excited to bring you this new podcast. It's a bit of a departure from our traditional software discussions that we have. We're going to talk about online coaching today, the value of online coaching, and developing a new platform so that you can have an effective online distance coaching model for your company. I'm really excited to share it with you. I'm working with this company to help them develop this out. And I said, we got to get you guys on here. So, with that being said, welcome to the podcast. We're going to have a great one. Thanks for joining us, everyone. I'd like to introduce Dr. Gabriella Dennery. She's with an organization called DocWorking, which is a new website dedicated to helping doctors get the coaching that they need. Dr. Dennery, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, of course. It's great to have you here. And this is the first time I've had the opportunity to speak with you in person. I've seen your videos and I've seen some of the different presentations that you've given, but I'm really excited for the audience to be able to learn more about you and learn more about DocWorking. So, if you don't
Mhm.
mind, can you give us just a brief background of your bio?
Sure, no problem. No problem. Well, I started off as a physician. I did internal medicine, adult primary care for a number of years, and I worked mostly in New York City. And I got to the point, and to be perfectly honest, where I burnt out. I just did. And I really had nothing else to give emotionally, physically, mentally, spiritually. I had to make a decision about my own well-being, and so I stepped away. I left. And so what happened afterwards was kind of an interesting set of happy accidents, and one thing led to another, and I learned about life coaching. And not only as a career, but something that I availed myself of as well as I'm working through the trauma of burnout. It is a very traumatic experience, and so um, what I saw was the value of the coaching conversation, having someone to be that sounding board, to explore ideas of what my next steps would be, to be able to articulate a vision and having that safe space to do it in. And someone who's not, they're not advising, but they'll be asking some pretty powerful questions to kind of
Mhm.
tease out the answer that I already had, but I just was afraid to admit I would. And so it was a really powerful way of growing and learning and coming into my own. And so I started training as a coach. I started doing health and wellness coaching, which was mostly have to do with, I guess, in the medical model, you would call it patients, and in the coaching model, you call it clients. And so who were dealing with health challenges. And as an internist, it kind of appealed to me because I dealt a lot with patients who had a lot of chronic medical issues. But from a coaching perspective, the first question is, where do you see yourself a year from now, 3 years from now, 10 years from now, depending on the individual? And those kinds of conversations I would actually start taking into clinic, which I didn't know it was coaching at the time. But to me, I got tired of asking, okay, Miss Jones, how's the chest pain? Any chest
Wow.
pain today? Any, that kind of, I'm being a little sarcastic and my apologies, but it
Right.
was that same kind of rote question for every person who walked into the
Yeah.
door. And I found the conversation very flat. And then on those rare occasions when I didn't have to rush through 20 patients in a day, and some patients would miss their appointments because there was a snowstorm or, they had other things to take care of, there was a little time in the schedule. And for some patients, I would be, well, where do you see yourself? You know, XYZ time from now, depending
Right.
on who I was talking to. And the answers that came back were just absolutely amazing and flabbergasting and just, wow, you mean to tell me that people have lives outside of four walls in a clinic?
Yeah.
That they have a life beyond a prescription pad and a referral form, that they have aspirations and dreams and visions for themselves beyond illness and sickness. And I was floored. And what
Yeah.
would happen after that is that it made sense when they could articulate a vision, that the treatment now made sense.
Yeah.
Now they knew
Yeah.
why they were doing what they were doing. because they were trying to reach a certain goal. And it wasn't just, oh, I need to lose weight. Most people didn't listen to that anyway. What it was is, oh gosh, I have to stop eating junk food because I want to get off dialysis, which is one of my patients actually said that in a year, I want to be off
Right.
dialysis. So I can't go to McDonald's anymore if I'm going to do that, So
Right.
now it made sense. And
Sure.
so after I left medicine, it was, I started thinking that I would do that with people dealing with chronic illness. And I did that for a little while, and there was some really cool experiences there. But more recently, particularly even before COVID, my heart is still with the physician community. And whenever I read an article about a physician who takes their own life because they just couldn't see another way out, uh, I can absolutely, it breaks my heart like nothing in the world. It just breaks my heart. And at the same time, I can absolutely relate to what they're going through because I was that physician.
Right.
And
Wow.
at the same time, I'm looking 15 years, 20 years ahead at where I am now. And it's like, I'm here to tell you there is a way out. And I'm here to tell you that if I did it, you can too. And if it may or may not mean leaving medicine because there's a lot invested in that process. It's
Right.
years, it's a lot of money, it's tears, it's sacrifice, it's
Right.
sacrificing not only self, but your entire family is involved. It's a huge commitment and a huge call. And it's like, I get that. And at the same time, I get that you can create the life that you desire for yourself.
Right.
And if I
The
can do it, you
the
can too.
the idea behind DocWorking is exactly that, right? It's taking people wherever they're at in their medical career and
Right.
then saying, where do you want to be? And let's make a plan together to get you there. Is that accurate? Is that how you would describe it to a non-physician?
Yes, I would say that to anybody, really. I've coached social workers, I've coached teachers, I've coached any number of people in these kind of traditional sorry, professions. I'm a percussionist too.
Right.
So professions that really are at a point where they're fatigued, they're tired, and they want a different kind of life for themselves. So my role as a coach is to hold that space between where you are now and where you want to be, as you said, and to engage you in a powerful coaching conversation using specific coaching tools and skills, right? And not to come up with the ideas for you, but to really help you see the ideas more clearly and get
Right.
you to your next steps and then your next steps. And there will be moments where there's what we call resistance. There will be moments of stuckness. And that's okay too. Everybody goes through that self doubt, the fear, the guilt, et cetera, et cetera, whatever drives the stuckness. And we can work our way around that too. And to remember how powerful you are and that you are perfectly capable of getting to where you want to be. That's the coaching conversation.
So, Dr. Dennery, can you describe for me the process of onboarding a new client a little bit? How does the
Mm.
process work for someone who's new to a coaching situation?
There is kind of a is coaching right for you? And we were talking about that and to make sure that that gets on the site because it's not for everybody. And at the same time, in order for us to be effective, we want the right fit client and coach. And so, is coaching right for you? Number one, do you have a vision? Do you have an idea of where you want to go? And sometimes the vision is not necessarily the next career move. It could be something as broad as, well, I want to feel happy about my life. That was my first
Right.
vision. I want to feel happy. I want to feel good about what I do, whatever it is I do. I want to feel
Right.
ecstatic about waking up in the morning. Let's go for what you want to experience in your life. But if someone who is very clear about, well, I'm thinking of transitioning to this particular career or opening my own business then great. The clearer, the more specific, the better. But if it starts in general terms, that's okay too. That is, however, the first question. Do you have a vision?
right,
And then after that, it's like, okay, um, where are you now? Where do you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now? And let's come up with an action plan. What have you thought about so far? And then how can we clarify each step as you go along? And is your step in alignment with your vision? And that's always kind of the double checking along the way. And so that tends to be the process in general. And it's not my job to advise or to tell you what to do or to think. It is my job to just ask questions and help you clarify, help you clarify, help you
right.
clarify. And that's it.
And what do you
So
do?
if
This,
somebody,
yeah. Please go ahead.
I'm sorry, if somebody is in a different kind of space where they don't necessarily have a vision for themselves, but they are still dealing with the trauma of what it is to be in clinical practice. And there's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of emotional, physical, spiritual trauma there. Then
Right,
the first step may very well be therapy and working with a therapist, working out some of these issues. Coaching may or may not be the right venue for that. Coaching kind of looks forward into what are your next moves. Mhm.
yeah. Okay. And that makes a lot of sense as far as getting someone ready for the coaching. And then the site I know is going to offer, financial well-being, personal well-being, health, nutrition, professional, and then also an option for non-medical career exploration.
Right,
Um, you know,
exactly.
phys- physicians and medical personnel have such a skill set that's applicable beyond the medical field that piece is fascinating to me. Um,
Mhm.
because I found out I was previously a district superintendent. And when I looked at other positions in the world, I found out, wait a minute, I've run organizations, I've done leadership, I've run HR, I
Mhm.
know how to do business and finance, and I know how to organize and do professional development. And I had this skill set that I had never seen beyond my own niche as a school district superintendent. But then when organizations and companies started coming to me and saying, "We'd like you to lead our organization because you have this skill set that has been applied in this situation, but now it's somewhere else." It's fascinating to me that, I've always had physicians on such a pedestal, right?
Mm.
That
Mhm.
I would think to myself, why would anyone ever want to leave that? But the fact is, as I meet with you and Dr. Barna and everyone else, the incredible pressures, the incredible strain and financial obligations that get carried and all of those other things that impact a person's well-being, it's
Mhm.
it's opening my own eyes to see that, you know, I guess it's just a glimpse into the humanity of a profession, that there's
Yeah.
there's the human behind the white coat that has all sorts of things that they have to deal with as well. And so that's what brought me in. Another thing that brought me into this project is wanting to help people and wanting
Mhm.
to help enrich lives. In our company, our motto is, rising tide lifts all boats. And so
Mm.
sometimes we do ed tech, but we look at how can we help everyone. And so helping
Right.
physicians, especially, we're getting more of a glimpse, I think, now into the world of medicine with the attention that is rightfully being given to frontline workers and physicians and hospital workers. I think we're having a view into the difficulty and the trauma and the hardships that medical professionals endure on everyone else's
Yeah.
behalf. And so to be able to work with a company that wants to help relieve that stress and that strain and find some centeredness, it's an honor to be working with the organization and to hopefully help a
Mhm.
lot of doctors regain that balance, which is much needed. Um,
Absolutely. And mhm. Go ahead.
yeah, so tell me if you would just a summary of a success story or a client
Mhm.
that was ready and you help move them forward.
Hmm. A success story, I think a recent one is a professional who um, was going through a lot of physical ailments to really get to the point where things were not working well. There was a lot of stress at work. There was a lot of stress at home as a result. So it was a question of, again, I think the coaching for that was about work-life balance, was about
Right.
how do we set boundaries? How do we make it clear what is it that you're going for? Um, because it's not about the ambition of work and career, but it's about the balance between what happens at home and what happens at work, and to be in a place where you can be happy with both or satisfied or fulfilled in both. And so that was the work we did. And I think it actually happened very, very quickly. What I found is that what was overarching in our conversations, and not just with this person, but with other clients, is especially in the professional fields and the service fields, is that there's need to be perfect. There's a need to
Mhm.
get it right,
Okay.
to make, leave no stone unturned, and to solve and fix everything.
Right.
By design or whatever reason, these kinds of professions, particularly the medical profession, nursing profession, attracts perfectionists, and it attracts people who are kind of naturally fix-it people who want to make
Right.
everything right. But that spills over into the personal as well, and it spills over into
Sure.
somehow the expectation that that person will fix everything. And it's a lot of pressure. It's a tremendous amount of pressure. And so to be able to say, you know what, if I don't get it 100%, is 90% okay? Or is 70% okay? Or 75% okay? As long as I still feel good about what I brought to the table, do I have to be 100%, go for 110% every time when it's
Right.
exhausting me? What if I
Right.
toned it down a little bit, which then allows other people to come in and other people to step up
Right.
to the plate and support the process, and at the same time you're not killing yourself trying to please everybody. And so,
Right.
there's a time learning how to say no is probably the biggest gift that any physician can give themselves. And it's a tough one to learn. At least for me, it took a long time to learn, to be able to say, no, this is not for me. Yes, this is for me. No, not yet. Or I'll think about it. Yes, I'll go for it right away, rather than coming to everybody's rescue. And
Right.
so I think that in that particular coaching relationship, we were able to get through, like penetrate that shield of perfectionism. And that was, I think, a big relief for everybody, and especially my clients, I hope.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. No, that's a great example. Thank you.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
when looking at building your own practice and building your own business, what have your been approaches up until now? And then what is the appeal of the online model?
Um, Up until now, I'm still, part of me is still that fix it person. Once a doctor, always a doctor, to be honest. um, and I'm trying to do everything, the social media, the figuring out the marketing strategy, what about the IT, what kind of support do I need, et cetera, et cetera. And then I have to
Right.
find clients and recruit them and work clients, and I'm trying to be the jack of all trade. And I realized that here I am replicating the same model that I left for myself. And so it was time to look at something else and another way of being and doing. And so I started looking at online platforms. I had a couple of friends who were doing similar kind of platforms. Dr. Barna and I met in July of this year, and we were both part of this workshop that had to do with coaching physicians, which was fantastic. And then a few weeks later, she calls me up and wants my opinion as a coach. And so, well, what would you, as a coach, look for in a platform?
Okay.
And so the bottom line after our conversation was like, what I really want is for to play to my strengths. So the platform will have to include what I love best: teaching, speaking, coaching,
Right.
and writing. Bottom line, that's what I do
Right.
best. And that's what I want to improve on. But the
Right.
rest of the stuff, the IT, the marketing, the this, the that, the this, the that, no,
Right.
I can't. I can't. And I don't want to because my
No.
sanity is important to me. So
Well,
that's
I think
why.
that's
And
important.
as I said, it's absolutely, absolutely. And that's why I recommend it highly. I think it's a worthwhile investment. At the same time, I'm on LinkedIn, and there's no time, I think 2 or 3 times a day that I get some invite or hey, we have this platform, etc. It
Sure.
doesn't seem to stop. And so it's like, okay, great idea. Let me look at a couple of other options to see. But what I
Yeah.
loved about DocWorking as a coach is that it became very personal to, like, there was a meeting of the minds. Nobody called me to try and sell something. It was just a conversation. And our values are very similar. And at the same time, they were like, you want a podcast? You want to podcast? We'll set it up. Um,
Yeah.
your blogs, we'll get them out. Your clients, we'll help you find them. It was so just easy and thoughtful. It was nice to be treated, for my skill set to be treated with honorably and with respect.
Right.
And at the same time, that I get input in what's happening to my own trajectory, which I think is what was missing for me in medicine. I didn't have input
Right.
anymore. And it was just doing what somebody else, usually somebody without a medical or clinical background, who would then tell me
Right.
what I should or should not do. And after a while, it's like, that's not what I'm here. Somehow my creativity has to be in the mix. And
Right.
so I think this company in particular was great for that. And I still, to this day, although we've had many conversations, I've never heard a sales pitch out of anybody from DocWork.
Right.
And
And that's big, right? I I
that's
I
big.
mean, because well, one, you're valued for your contribution and your experience and your expertise. This is a very niche, project, right? I mean,
Yeah.
coaching and wellness coaching for physicians is a fairly narrow niche, and to be able
Hmm.
to respect the people that have that expertise and support them with this network and this system and the marketing and all of that, I think it's a fantastic move on their part because let people do what they're best at, right? And you're
Yeah.
best at working with clients and writing and doing that. So take all the rest away and let your experts do what they do. I think is important regardless of the company and the organization. Let the experts be the experts. I'm working with a scientific instruments company that has amazing, brilliant scientists, and they have been tasked previously with some marketing and some of these other things that are not at their core, not at their expertise, and they want to grow their business. So they've made the decision to look to us to help them with that, which I
Hmm.
appreciate. Anyone that is actualized enough to know what they're great at and what they're not great at, and then to take that to an organizational level, that's critical to growth and success and moving forward. So, no, I appreciate your insight into DocWorking and DocWorking.com because I think they're doing it right. And
Hmm.
so I know you're going to be highlighted as one of the coaches. I love that. So let's flip just a second here. I know that you help others achieve work-life balance. What does that look
Yes.
like for you as a professional?
Well, I have I have to say it took a while, but I got there. And so, one, I would say, first of all, whoever's, to our listeners, be patient with yourself. If you're looking to achieve work-life balance, it's not something that's going to happen overnight. There's still a lot of inner work that has to happen and outer work that has to happen. And so for me, my work-life balance in very specific term starts with my prayer call in the morning at 6:30. I pray with my prayer partner. And then I do my own kind of spiritual study, looking at some texts, and actually I have breakfast with my wife, and we talk about what we've just read, and we'll share the reading,
Right.
and so that's how my day starts. And then after that, as often as I can, I go for a walk outside before I start work. And so that puts me in a space where I can really be available. And
Mhm.
whatever cobwebs I carry, from the day before, whatever, they're gone,
Yeah.
and which is fantastic. The second thing is music. For me,
Mhm.
delving into um, my creativity and my creative passions is absolutely key to work life balance. I spent a lot of years kind of putting the music aside. I've been a musician since I was 6 years old. I've spent a lot of time putting that aside. Oh, I don't have time. My patience. I have to do this. I can't. I can't. I can't. And what I did when I started working as an attending physician, I actually started a job in New York City, which is the best place in the world for music. And so
Yes.
I've always wanted to learn how to do African drumming. And within 6 months of starting my new job, I found a teacher and a class, and I started
Okay.
going to class, and I was hooked. And so for the majority of my years as an attending physician, I went to my drum classes religiously. And then I ended up starting teaching. It just being in that space, it rejuvenated me. It just transported me elsewhere. I was hanging out with people that had nothing to do with clinics or medicine. They came from all
Right.
walks of life, different conversation, and I was able to see myself in life in a different way. How could my life look like now that I'm engaged in these other ways and I'm honoring what's important to me? And so I had kind of learned
Nice.
by hook and by crook over years that it was important to uh, one, make time for my spiritual life, which is important to me, and
Right.
two, make time for my creativity, which is crucial to my well-being. And over the last few months since the lockdown, I've been having fun in the kitchen and working new recipes and exploring cuisines from other parts of the world, and testing it out on, on my spouse, and see how it works. And I'm having a ball. And so,
Right.
I engage in those things as much as I can. And
Mhm.
so it starts my day, it ends my day. Uh, just in that space. And so which makes the heavier work, the heavier emotional work, the
Right.
coaching usually is very light. I learn a lot from it, but it can get heavy sometimes. And so but it
Right.
makes that, having those other outlets makes it absolutely crucial to just be as healthy as I can be, so I can be healthy for my clients.
Absolutely. Wow.
Mhm.
Um, so much that I want to do, segments 2 and 3 with you. I want to, as someone who um, just has an appreciation for live music and all of that. I was like, okay, I got to talk to her more offline about this. Uh,
Sure.
but for wrapping up the show,
Mhm.
the one of the things that we always ask our guests is because we're tech based. I mean, we're kind of nerdy
Sure.
around here. Is there a piece of software or hardware or technology that's in your life that you recommend, or you couldn't live without if you didn't have it?
What I couldn't live without. I love that question. Finale print music. That's the
Okay.
composition software that I use. And since I'm not a huge techie person, that to me was a way to actually see my music and hear it back
Mhm.
at the same time. And especially if I'm arranging like strings, which I'm a
Mhm.
string player, so I'll arrange strings. And I can hear the music, how they interact with each other, look at the structure of the
Okay.
piece, how does this work. I'm a very visual person, so to see a note on a page is very important, and to be able to make the corrections and the changes as I go along, I think is absolutely amazing. I've been working with Finale print music for many years, and I love it. Um, the other thing that I'm recently decided to take the plunge with
Mhm.
is Logic Pro X, Apple Music Home Studio
Right. Oh,
software. And
wow.
so uh, again, it was a little daunting at first because it's like,
Right.
what are all these things? So after a few YouTube videos and trial and error, I got started. And then they made some updates this past summer that just rocked my world. I said nirvana. It made it so user friendly in ways that I didn't. I'm just finally discovering that I'm actually starting to be able to put pieces together in about a third of the time that I used to
Wow.
before. And so that at this point, I can't live without it.
Right. No, those are perfect. Thank you so much.
Mhm.
I've really enjoyed our discussion today, learning more about you, learning more about docworking.com, and the ways in which you're helping take care of people that we don't necessarily normally think of as needing our care, right? It's usually the reverse.
Absolutely.
And so we appreciate you. Thank you for your work. And thank you for joining us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, Dr. Dennery.
Oh, thank you so much, Will, for having me. And I look forward to more conversations as we progress with
I'm sure we'll
DocWorking.
talk. Yeah, we'll talk again soon, I'm sure. Thanks so much. Have a great day.
Mhm. You too. Have a great day.
I'd like to thank our sponsors. We have SchoolStream, WorkVivo, STEM Minds. Of course, my team at EdTech Authority never gets enough credit. Ryan, my producer, thanks very much. I appreciate you all. Thanks for watching. See you soon. Bye bye.